r/NoSleep. Posted by u/TG_10st. There is one rule in my town: never go out at the night of the last day of summer. We should have listened. I am writing and posting this before it is too late. I have about an hour before it's my turn to go. Gene went there yesterday and now he pretends like nothing happened, like our best friend Jack wasn't killed 3 days ago. Just like his family, their son disappeared and they don't even try to learn the truth. Disappeared. He didn't disappear, he was killed by them. I asked Gene and he just said that it's better not to think of it. That son of a BTCH, not to think about how our best friend was shredded to pieces? We should have stayed inside. It was just one day and we would have been out of here. Jack wanted to see what was outside for his last birthday in this town. Ever since I was little I remember that day. Every year no one even thought of going out at night. My mother would make me come inside earlier and close all the doors and windows. Every time anyone tried to ask an adult they wouldn't answer and just say to stay indoors. To my knowledge only one person ever disappeared, even though some say they were more. I was a kid back then. The only thing that they said to us was that he had a car accident. I was young but I remember that guy. He would frequently walk around with a bottle on his hand. I learned earlier that he started drinking after the death of his child. That day he had an argument with his wife and crashed on an alleyway. But I knew the truth. I heard my parents talking about how his car had claw marks and how his door was torn out. I never believed it though, some superstition, some rumor. That's why I agreed to their plan. They were trying to get me to agree for a whole month. Sometimes I try to think that I didn't agree, that I told them that it was crazy. It was Jack's idea that we usually celebrated his birthday a day earlier, but he would have a splitting headache. So Gene would bring him some painkillers from his dad's chemistry along with some pills that they usually give to people with insomnia. After everyone was asleep we would go out. It worked. And so we went to the park of our town. Every store was closed that day. Everyone believes that nonsense, said Jack. We parked our car at a parking spot nearby and made our way towards the park. About 2 hours passed, we laughed and talked about the future, about college, about our careers. As time passed we decided that we had enough. Maybe it was a stupid myth or something. Just when we were about to enter the car we heard something. A low sobbing sound. Is someone crying? Gene asked. Why would anyone even be here? We should get out of here before they find out about us, I said. Gene seemed to agree, but Jack had other plans. He started following the sound, carefully avoiding every leaf or branch. Even when it was so dark we followed him. I think of this moment non-stop since then. If I had insisted that we should leave, if I had forced them to leave, maybe he would still be alive. We continued walking until we reached someone. Something was crouched down on the grass holding his stomach and sobbing. Right from the start, the way it stood and moved back and forth, the way it sobbed, and the fact that it didn't acknowledge us even though we weren't trying to conceal our footsteps anymore made it seem like it wanted us to come closer. Gene spoke up. Hey dude, are you alright? No response. Jack spoke next. Man, do you need help? Still no response. Gene got closer. Jack asked, is he injured? I can't tell, it's too dark, responded Gene. It was then that we heard Gene scream. The thing started dragging him toward the back of the park where the already scarce moonlight disappeared. We ran and grabbed his hand. We tried to pull him back. The creature was strong. Gene kicked it as many times as he could. We managed to free him and started running towards the car. Gene's left leg was bleeding. He breathed heavily. I helped him walk. The creature was right behind us. Jack grabbed a rock and throwed it. I heard it making impact. The creature screeched with anger, stopping for just a few seconds. I opened the door to the car and helped Gene get inside. I looked at Jack. He had almost made it. Moonlight illuminated a smile on his face. Then another creature jumped in front of him. At first I thought that a cloud was covering the moon. As it appeared it was human-like, his skin completely back. Its mouth was open, revealing its knife-like teeth. Jack didn't even notice until it dug its claws into his throat. A weak scream was all that he could manage before he was brought to the ground. Gene screamed and tried to get to Jack. I held him. He told to let him go, but I didn't. I just stood there petrified as my friend was being devoured. The first creature tried to feast as well, only for the second one to grab its hand and snap it without the slightest hint of difficulty. The worst thing isn't that though, no, the worst part was the fact that the broken arm just bent back into shape again in a few seconds. I forced Gene inside and drove away. The creature followed us, grabbing the car several times, leaving claw marks everywhere. Until we reached my home, the creature stopped at the edge of the road screaming with anger at me. It didn't even touch the sidewalk. My parents weren't angry, they just looked at me, their eyes full of fear. They didn't answer my questions. The police came and took my and Gene's report and told us to go to the station. So that brings us to today. I don't know what they are going to tell me, as I don't know why I'm writing this. Is it because I feel guilty that I abandoned him there, or what? In the official report they wrote about an animal attack, no one believed it, they all knew what happened. It's time to go now. I won't name my town, but if you are ever told to stay inside that day, just do it. Next story of this video. Posted by u/puzzleheaded_ad_1114. I found something I should have never looked at in my basement. I've been married to my beautiful wife for 5 years now, and it's been an absolute delight. She is the sweetest and most prettiest lady you could ever speak to, but lately, something's been off about her. She's been quieter. She hasn't been speaking to me for a few days, and it was quite sudden. She's been quite aggressive too. Every time I spoke to her, she would turn around and give me this glare. This glare, it was as if the devil has possessed her, like she'd burn me, like she wants to burn me. I was worried. Every night, while I was sleeping, she'd start whispering. She would whisper profanities, curses, threats. I'd eventually move to the couch where it was more peaceful. A week ago, I decided to clean my basement. Worst decision ever. Most people would love a clean basement, to make it look as if you'd want to live there. Me? After this week? I'd want it to look unwelcoming, as a warning. While my wife was, I don't even know what she was doing. She was staring at a painting in our bedroom. Blankly. For 5 hours. I decided to do something productive, as it was my day off work. I decided to do the worst thing ever, clean my basement. When I entered the basement, it smelled of a rotting corpse, add a bit of vinegar, and a bit of moldy sour cream. A smell I thought I'd never smell before. I almost threw up right on the steps. I closed the door to get some Febreze. I emptied the whole can. Once I finally got the courage to enter the basement again, it smelled better. Slightly. Just enough to bear out. I got to work. After about 2 hours, I found a photo album, my wife's. The latest photo in there was from about a year ago. Our vacation to South Africa. The oldest was from the day she was born. 19th of September, 1985. As I scrolled through the album, I noticed something off about her face. I'd know since I've been with her for 15 years, including the dating and engagement period. Her jawline was sleek and smooth. On the 5th page in the album, her jaw was slanted to the left, a bit crooked, and her chin was longer. She had braces which she'd never had before, and her ears were smaller. On the next page, she looked exactly the same as she did when I met her. I was confused. Was it just a glow-up? But the next photo was taken 3 days after the one before. I went upstairs to ask her about the album. When she looked at me and saw the album, she charged at me. I ran back downstairs, into the basement where I locked myself. She was slamming the door for a few minutes, before she phased out again, and began mumbling again. I decided to brush it off, as this has been happening for the past few days. I continue to scroll through the album. Her face in some pages are just weirder. I gather the courage to come back outside. I bring 2 pictures of her with me. I hold one up to her face. The normal one. She looks different. I thought maybe it was just the time gap. I go back down, and grab a newer one. I compare it to her face. It's still different. I hold the abnormal one up to her face. It resembles her. I was confused. Did I forget which one was which? Was I just seeing things? I brush it off, and go back to cleaning the basement. After about 2 hours, I was basically done. I just had to empty out a small shelf with scraps on it. The shelf was emitting that sour smell. It seemed to be the source of it, for that matter. I moved the shelf away from the wall and felt something brush me. I looked up, and saw a deceased hand drooping from the side of the shelf. I screamed loudly. I was mortified. I reluctantly pulled the shelf away, revealing the rest of the body. When I look up, I see my own wife. I shriek. I quickly move the shelf back to its original position. I stand there shocked. After 5 minutes, or what felt like 5 hours, I hear someone creeping down the stairs. "So, you found it?" I look up, there she stands, my wife? "Would you like to join her?" she said, coldly. She charges at me, at an inhumane amount of speed. I manage to dodge, and I sprint out of the room, to the front yard. I locked the door behind me. I could hear her slamming on the door. I luckily had my phone in my pocket, and dialed the police. She ran out the backyard and escaped. Just a day after that, they found her eating the body of an innocent civilian. She got arrested, and got charged with first-degree murder, cannibalism and grand theft auto. She escaped in somebody else's car. I still don't know how she killed my wife, when she did, or why she did. I've technically been living under my wife's body for 2 weeks. Before she died, I remember her telling me she had a twin. Maybe her twin killed her, or maybe it's something for sinister? I just do hope that she rots in prison.